In this presentation, you will learn about Occam's razor, which is a principle of design that is based on simplicity. By the end of this lesson, you will understand the basic definition of what Occam's razor is, the origins of this principle, synonyms for this principle, as well as connections to science and design. When considering Occam's razor, the basic definition suggests that entities should not be multiplied unnecessarily. And furthermore, when you have two competing theories that make exactly the same prediction, the simpler one is always better. Now, when applying Occam's razor to a design principle, Occam's razor emphasizes that the most simple design is preferred over a more complicated one. In order to truly understand how Occam's razor works, you must begin by looking at where it originates. In the 14th century, there was a philosopher named William of Ockham. And while his ideas were not brand new, he was known for his relentless use of this particular principle that allowed him to cut away extraneous material so that he could find solutions to problems. Now, he used this principle to justify many of his conclusions, and a majority of them involved the existence of God. Later, in later centuries, Occam's razor was supported by Aristotle and Galileo as a way to develop solutions to problems. Throughout history, there have been several other principles that have focused on the simplicity of design. These are very similar to Occam's razor. The principle of plurality, the principle of parsimony, and the principle of economy are just three of the principles that focus on keeping your design elements and your problem solving simple. While this presentation is specifically designed to give you ideas about how to use Occam's razor in your future technology projects, I would like to point out that there are some specific scientific connections that have been made using Occam's razor. First, let's consider the nursing industry. When a patient comes into the doctor's office and they are complaining of a cough and possibly congestion, there are several possible explanations as to what could be going on with this patient. The nursing industry will say that often a person that walks in with a cough will more often have a cold versus lung cancer. They refer to this as look for the horse and not the zebra when examining a patient. You're going to look for the most simple solution to a problem. As another example, you might consider the difference between a Rube Goldberg project versus playing golf. In a Rube Goldberg, you're going to include as many different variations to a design in order to get a ball in a hole. This would be a non-example of what Occam's razor would include. In comparison, when you're playing golf, your goal is to get the ball in the hole in the fewest amount of strokes as possible. Simple designs is what we're looking for here. Now, let's turn our attention to some connections related to design by investigating a tale of two search engines. I'd like you to consider for a moment the two search engines listed on your screen. That is Bing versus Google. When you access the Bing home page, you are inundated with images. There are multiple places to click and moving images that distract from the flow of information. However, when you click on the Google homepage, you notice there are simple choices. There are very few distractors, and there are no extraneous images that pull your attention away from your goal. When applying Occam's razor to your design project, you must consider the following items. First, unnecessary design components decrease the efficiency of the product. Unnecessary design elements have a greater likelihood to fail and create problems in the future. And finally, as you're designing, make sure to evaluate the importance of each design element and eliminate as many as possible. However, make sure that the functionality is not compromised. Now let's take a minute and test your knowledge. So in the following questions, I want you to think in terms of Occam's razor. You are going to be presented with an event and then possible explanations for that event. Your job is to decide which one is most plausible based on the simplicity rules of Occam's razor. First, let's consider this event. The tire on a car is flat. Now, which seems more plausible? Explanation 1, the tire has a screw in it, or explanation 2, a serial tire flattener came through the town and cut open as many tires as possible. Did you say explanation 1 is the most simple conclusion? Explanation 1 would support Occam's razor. Let's take a look at another one. In this event, it's raining and there is a flash of light out your window. Which seems more plausible? Explanation 1, someone is taking pictures of you through your window? Or explanation 2, there is lightning during a thunderstorm. Hopefully you said explanation 2 because it is the most simple conclusion that can be received. Lastly, let's consider this event. You are commended for your web design using the design principle of Occam's razor. Explanation number 1. You chose simple design elements that didn't impede the functionality of the site. Or explanation 2. You created an intricate design with many distracting features that caused the site to crash. Hopefully you said explanation 1 is the most simple conclusion as to why you were commended for your work in web design. When William of Ockham in the 14th century began using his method of simplifying problems in order to come up with the most simple conclusions, he stated in Latin, which has then been translated into English. In his words, he said, "What can be done with fewer assumptions is done in vain with more." In other words, when considering what to include in a design, it is always better to keep it simple.